சார் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம்.
Good morning, sir.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம் சார்.
Good morning, students. Good morning, students. So, in the last class, we have discussed about multiplicative functions. So, before we discussed about multiplicative functions. So far, we have seen Wilson's theorem, Fermat's Little theorem, and applications of Wilson's and Fermat's Little theorem. So today class we are going to see about multiplicative functions and Euler's theorem. Yesterday class I have taught definition of multiplicative functions. So we'll see briefly. So the definition of multiplicative function: a number theoretic function is multiplicative if f of mn is equal to f of m into f of n whenever m and n are relatively prime. Okay. So let the function f of n is equal to n power k is multiplicative since f of mn is equal to mn to the power k, that equal to m power k into n power k. So m power k, as per definition of function, m power k can be written as f of m and n power nk is f of n. So f of mn was expressed as f of m into f of n. If f is multiplicative, we can express like this. And another definition, if let f be multiplicative function, then capital F is defined by capital F of n is equal to summation d divides n f of d. Okay. Here d is the divisors of n. Okay. For example, if n equal to 8, then what are the divisors of 8? 2, 4, 8. Okay. 2, 4, 8. Next. So during the last class, finally we have discussed about fundamental theorem for multiplicative functions. Let f be a multiplicative function and n is a positive integer with canonical decomposition. So n is equal to, so n can be expressed as product of the primes, p1 power k1, p2 power k2, etc., pr power kr. Here p1, p2 and pr, which are the distinct primes. Then f of n, then f of n is equal to f of actually n equal to p1 power k1, p2 power k2 up to pr power kr, but f is multiplicative function, so the function can be expressed as product of the function. So f of p1 power k1 into f of p2 power k2, etc., f of pr power kr. So we have discussed the proof of the fundamental theorem. So the proof as done by using method of induction. Now, so in the continuation, we have to see a theorem. If f is a multiplicative function, then capital F of n is equal to summation d divides n. F of d is also multiplicative. So let the GCD between m and n should be 1. So we know the definition of capital F. The definition of capital F, the definition of capital F is defined is given in the theorem. F of n is equal to summation d divides n f of d. Okay. So my aim is we have to prove capital F should be multiplicative function. So capital F of mn. So capital F of mn can be written as summation d divides m, d divides m into n f of d. Since the GCD between m and n is 1. Okay. So every divisor of m into n is given unique pair of positive integers. Okay. d1 and d2, which means d is equal to the product of d1 and d2. So then d divides mn means d1 divides m and d2 divides n. And also the GCD between d1 and d2 is 1. So therefore f of d is equal to f of d1 into d2. Okay. Then capital F of fn, capital F of mn is equal to summation, already d divides mn. Okay. So d is the product of d1 and d2. Okay. We receive d1 divides m and d2 divides n. So summation over d1 divides m and d2 divides n, f of d1 into d2. Then the summation can be splitted. Then summation d1 divides m and into summation d2 divides n, f of d1 into f of d2. It can be rearranged. So within the square bracket, I am taking summation d2 divides n f of d2. Okay. Out of the square bracket, summation d1 divides m f of d1. So within the square bracket, summation d2 divides n f of d2 can be written as capital F of n. Then summation d1 divides m f of d1, which is capital F of m. So f of m into n. So let f of m into n, which will be expressed as capital F of m into capital F of n. Okay. So this implies we can say that capital F is multiplicative function. Capital F is multiplicative function. So in the theorem, in the theorem they have written small f, actually capital F. Okay. If small f is multiplicative function, then capital F of n is equal to summation d divides n f of d is also multiplicative. So we have proved capital F of n is multiplicative function. Okay, multiplicative function means capital F of mn is equal to capital F of m into capital F of n. Okay, so which is the definition of multiplicative function. So capital F is satisfying the definition of multiplicative. So therefore capital F of n is multiplicative function. Next, Euler's function. Generally, Euler's function is represented by using the letter phi. Okay, Euler's function phi. Let m be a positive integer. So taking m be a positive integer, then Euler's phi function. Euler's phi function, which can be denoted phi of m. So phi of m means, so phi of m denotes the integers less than or equal to m and relatively prime to m. Okay. So phi of m denotes the positive integers less than or equal to m and relatively prime to m. So then, so we have the result, a positive integer p. Suppose the positive integer should be prime. A positive integer p is prime if and only if phi of p is equal to p minus 1. Okay. For example, if p is equal to 11, if p is equal to 11, then phi of 11 is equal to 11 minus 1. 11 minus 1 is 10. So phi of 11 is equal to 10, which means phi of 11. Phi of 11 means the positive integers less than or equal to 11 and relatively prime to n. Okay. So phi of 11 is equal to 11 minus 1, that equal to 10. 10 means 1. Ma 1 is relatively prime to 11. Ma. Correct? And 2 is relatively prime to 11. 3 is relatively prime to 11. And also 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So all the integers are relatively prime to 11. Suppose if you take p is equal to 5. So p is equal to 5 means phi of 5 is equal to phi of 5 is equal to 5 minus 1 is equal to 4. So the number of integers 4 which are relatively prime to the integer 5. So what are the integers? 1. So 1, the GCD between 1 and 5 is 1. The GCD between 2 and 5 is 1. The GCD between 3 and 5 is 1. The GCD between 4 and 5 is 1. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So all the 4 integers are relatively prime to the integer 5. So phi of 5 is equal to 4. So now you look at the definition of Euler's phi function. So phi of m denotes the positive integers less than or equal to m and relatively prime to m. So next, so which is important theorem. Let p be a prime and k be any integer, then phi of p power k is equal to p power k minus p power k minus 1. Okay. Phi of p power k is equal to p power k minus p power k minus 1. So we know the definition of Euler's phi function. Phi of p power k. Actually, phi of p power k means the number of positive integers less than or equal to p power k and relatively prime to p power k. Actual meaning. The definition of phi of p power k means the positive integers less than or equal to p power k and relatively prime to p power k. Okay. So in the proof, first write down the definition of Euler's phi function. So phi of p power k is equal to the number of integers less than or equal to p power k and are relatively prime to p power k. Okay. So how can I get number of integers less than or equal to p power k and relatively prime to it? First, so collect the number of positive integers less than or equal to p power k. First, collect the number of positive integers less than or equal to p power k. Okay. So from them, subtract the number of positive integers less than or equal to p power k which are not relatively prime to p power k. Okay. So then only we can get number of integers less than or equal to p power k and are relatively prime to it. Okay. Up to p power k, we can collect all the integers. Okay. So don't bother about which are relatively prime to p power k or not. Okay. So collect all the integers less than or equal to p power k. Then omit, then eliminate the positive integers which are not relatively prime to p power k. So then only we can get number of integers less than or equal to p power k and relatively prime to it. So in the second line, the number of integers less than or equal to p power k and are relatively prime to it. Okay, it can be expressed as number of positive integers less than or equal to p power k minus number of positive integers less than or equal to p power k and which are not relatively prime to p power k. Okay. So here in the theorem, they said p is a prime. So p is the prime. So p is the prime, the positive integers less than or equal to p power k and are not relatively prime to p power k are various multiple of p. Okay. for the what are the integers are not relatively prime to p power k means that integers are multiple of p. That integers are multiple of p, which means that integers can be divided by the prime p. Okay, so what are the integers are can be divided by the prime p. Okay, that integers are not relatively prime to p power k. So what are the integers? P, okay, one time of p, 1 into p, then 2p, then 3p, up to p power k minus 1 into p. Okay, these integers are multiple of p. So these integers can be divided by p, which means these integers are not relatively prime to p. Okay, which means not relatively prime to means the GCD which is not equal to 1. The GCD which is not equal to 1. Okay, so p comma p, the GCD should be p. 2p comma p, the GCD should be p. So now, so how many integers are which are not relatively prime to p power k means you can count p, 2p, 3p up to p power k minus 1 into p. Okay, so the number of integers is p power k minus 1. Okay, suppose up to 2p means two integers are not relatively prime to p power k. Okay, up to 3p means three integers are not relatively prime to p. Here p power k minus 1 times of p are existing, therefore the number of integers is p power k minus 1. So p power k minus 1 integers are not relatively prime to p power k. Therefore phi of p power k is equal to the first one, number of integers less than or equal to p power k means we can collect all the integers up to p power k. So you can get the number of integers is p power k, then minus of the number of integers which are not relatively prime to p power k. Okay, the count is p power k minus 1. Okay, so phi of p power k can be expressed as p power k minus p power k minus 1. Okay, so now you are able to understand the proof of the theorem. So phi of p power k is equal to p power k minus p power k minus 1. Okay, so it can be written another form. Suppose p power k can be taken out as a common. Okay, p power k can be taken out as a common. At the time you can get p power k is common, then p power k into 1 minus 1 by p. Okay, actually p power minus 1 minus p power minus 1. So p power minus 1 means 1 by p. Okay, the phi of p power k is equal to p power k minus p power k minus 1. Okay, which is proved. Okay, the right hand side can be simplified. Okay, if you take p power k as a common, you can get p power k into 1 minus 1 by p. P power k into 1 minus 1 by p. So you have to remember this result. This result will be applied later on. So now the next theorem, let n is equal to, so the integer n, okay, which can be expressed as p1 power k1 into p2 power k2 etc. up to pt power kt be the canonical decomposition of a positive integer n. Then phi of n is equal to, so phi of n is equal to n into 1 minus 1 by p1 into 1 minus 1 by p2 etc. 1 minus 1 by pt. Okay, so it can be proved by using the previous theorem. It can be proved by using the previous theorem. Okay, so already we proved phi of p power k is equal to p power k minus p power k minus 1. Okay, if you take p power k as a common, you can get p power k into 1 minus 1 by p. Okay, or 1 minus p power k into 1 minus 1 by p. So now, so given that the integer n can be expressed as the product of primes. So here p1, p2 up to p suffix r, pr, which are the distinct primes. So p1 power k1 into p2 power k2 up to pr power kr. So here phi is multiplicative function. Okay, by fundamental theorem of multiplicative function. So you know the statement of fundamental theorem for multiplicative function. If n is equal to p1 power k1 into p2 power k2 up to pr power kr, then f of n is equal to f of the function can be applied each prime. Okay, so f of n is equal to the product of the pr prime functions. So f of n is equal to f of p1 power k1 into f of p2 power k2 up to etc. f of pr power kr. Okay, so this fundamental theorem will be applied here. So n, here n is equal to, so phi of, so one step is skipped here. So phi of p1 power k1 into p2 power k2 up to pr power kr, since phi is multiplicative function, therefore phi can be applied on each prime. Okay, so then the product of phi of p1 power k1 into phi of p2 power k2 etc. phi of pr power kr. So phi of p1 k1, actually phi of p1 power k1 can be written as p1 power k minus p1 power k minus 1. Okay, already you have proved, you have the result. Phi of p power k is equal to p power k minus p power k minus 1. Suppose phi of p1 power k1 means p1 power k1 minus p1 power k1 minus 1. Okay, so p1 power k1 minus p1 power k1 minus 1. Okay, if you multiply p1 power k1 within the bracket term, so within the bracket there is 1 minus 1 by p1. Okay, p1 power k1 into 1 p1 power k1, then minus p1 power k1 into 1 by p1 means p1 power k1 minus 1. Okay, here p1 power k1 is taken as a common. So phi of p1 power k1 is equal to p1 power k1 into 1 minus 1 by p1. Then phi of p2 power k2. Phi of p2 power k2 means p2 power k2 into 1 minus 1 by p2. Okay, then etc. Here the last prime, phi of pr power kr. Phi of pr power kr is equal to pr power kr into 1 minus 1 by pr. Okay, pr power kr into 1 minus 1 by pr. So this result was expressed by using this theorem. Phi of p power k is equal to p power k minus p power k minus 1. So in the expression where p power k was taken as a common, at the time p power k into 1 minus 1 by p. 1 minus 1 by p. So now multiply p1 power k1 into p2 power k2 up to pr power kr. So multiply p1 power k1, p2 power k2 up to pr power kr. The remaining is 1 minus 1 by p1 into 1 minus 1 by p2 up to 1 minus 1 by pr. So p1 power k1 into p2 power k2 etc. pr power kr, that is n. Okay, that is n. Since n is expressed as the product of primes, So P1 power K1 into P2 power K2 up to PR power KR is equal to N. Then 1 minus 1 by P1 into 1 minus 1 by P2, etc. 1 minus 1 by PR. So phi of N is expressed as N into 1 minus 1 by P1 into 1 minus 1 by P2, etc. 1 minus 1 by PR if N is equal to, N can be expressed as P1 power K1 into P2 power K2 up to PR power KR. Okay. But you have to know very well about Euler's phi function definition. Phi of n means the the positive integers less than or equal to n which are relatively prime to n. Okay, that count can be calculated by using this expression. Phi of n is equal to n into 1 minus 1 by p1 into 1 minus 1 by p2, etc. 1 minus 1 by pr. Okay, so this theorem can be used while solving the problems. Next, my next theorem, the Euler's phi function. The Euler's phi function is multiplicative. So we are going to prove that the Euler's phi function is multiplicative. So it is enough to prove that phi of mn is equal to phi of m into phi of n. Okay, if you prove phi of mn is equal to phi of m into phi n, okay, then we can conclude that phi is multiplicative function. Okay, since phi is satisfying the definition of multiplicative functions. Okay, for proving this theorem, we are going to consider the two integers m and n. Let m and n be positive integers. Okay, at the same time the GCD between m and n is 1. So since the greatest common divisor m and n is 1, so we are going to prove that phi of mn is equal to phi of m into phi of n. Okay, for proving this, we are going to arrange an array between the integers 1 through mn. Okay, it means we are going to form a matrix m by n matrix. Okay, we are going to form m by n matrix. It means m rows and n columns. Okay, so now the first column is 1 2 3 4 up to m. Okay, so in the general term, or okay, the first column can be arranged 1 2 3 etc., or then it ends at m. Okay, then the second column can be received by adding m with the first column elements. So first column, so adding m with first column elements, you can get the second column. That means m plus 1, m plus 2, m plus 3, m plus 4, etc., m plus r, and m 2m, m plus m, 2m. Okay, so at 2m the second column ends. Then third column, so the third column can be received by adding m in with second column. So m plus 1 is adding with m, you can get 2m plus 1. Then m plus 2 will be adding with m, you can get 2m plus 2. So like the third column ends at 3m. Then fourth column, so fourth column can be got by adding m with third column. So 2m plus 1 plus m, that equal to 3m plus 1, then 3m plus 2 up to 4m. Then finally in the matrix, the last column, okay, the last column will be n minus 1 into m plus 1, n minus 1 into m plus 2, etc., up to the last column ends at nm. Okay, the last column ends at nm. So you formed n by n matrix from 1 through mn. Okay. Let R be an integer such that the GCD between R and M should be greater than 1. Okay. Let R be an integer such that R and M should be greater than 1. Okay. We can assume an integer which is the GCD between that integer and M should be greater than 1. Okay. So at the type of the integer can be considered, that is R. So we will show that no two elements of rth row in the array is relatively prime to mn. Okay. So we are going to prove that any two elements in the rth row, okay, should not be relatively prime to mn. Okay. Which means the GCD between any element of the rth row and mn should not be equal to 1. Okay, it may be greater than 1. So let the GCD between R and M, is considered as D. Okay, the GCD between R and M is considered as D. So D is equal to the GCD. So D is considered as the GCD between R and M, which means D divides R and D divides M. Okay, D divides R and D divides M. Okay, if D divides R and D divides M, then D divides Km plus R. Then D divides Km plus R for any integer K. Okay, so which is the one of the application. So which was studied in the previous unit. Okay, so which was taught in the previous unit. If D divides R and D divides M means we can write D divides the linear combination of R and M, that is D divides Km plus R for any integer K. So now putting K is equal to 1, 2, 3 up to n minus 1, which means if you put K is equal 0, okay, if you put K is equal 0 in the linear combination Km plus R, you can get 0 into M plus R, which means D divides R. Then put K is equal to 1. So 1 into M plus R. So D divides M plus R. Then put N equal to 2. So D divides 2M plus R, etc. Then the last value of K, the highest value of K, putting K is equal to N minus 1. Then D divides N minus 1 into M plus R. Okay. This implies D divides M. Okay. Since D is the GCD between R and M, so D divides M. This implies we can say that D divides Mn. D divides Mn. So therefore, the GCD between Km plus R and Mn, the GCD between Km plus R and Mn, which is greater than or equal to D, which is multiple of D. So, and also D is greater than or equal to 1. D is greater than or equal to 1. And K value is the values of K lies between 0 and n minus 1. Okay, 0 and n minus 1. So from that we can say that R. Okay. So look at the, so D divides R, M plus R, 2M plus R up to n minus 1M plus R. Therefore, so collect the dividend R. Dividend of D R and M plus R and 2M plus R up to n minus 1 into M plus R. So which are not relatively prime to Mn. Okay. So in other words, okay, in another way we can describe the elements in the array. Actually we proved in the general loop. We have taken the elements in the general row, okay, which are not relatively prime to Mn, okay, which can be expanded any rows, okay. So in other words, the elements in the array that are relatively prime to Mn come from the rth row only if GCD between R and M is equal to 1. So we know the definition of Euler's phi function. So phi of M. So there are phi of M such integers R and hence phi of M such roots. So simply we can say that so the rth row elements are 2m plus r 2m plus r up to n minus 1 m plus r, okay, which are the residue modulo m. So r m plus r 2m plus r up to n minus 1 into m plus r, which are residues modulo n. Okay, these residues modulo n are permutation of 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. Okay, 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. So 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. Okay. So the count is phi of n, which is the count is phi of n, which are relatively prime to n, So in the rth row, the number of elements, is n minus 1. Actually, n minus 1 means phi of n. So exactly phi of n elements in the rth row with the GCD between R and M is 1. So the phi of n elements in the rth row which are relatively prime to n, therefore relatively prime to m. Therefore these phi of n elements which also relatively prime to mn. So then actually phi of n is specifically we have taken the rth row. So now there are phi of m rows contains the integers relatively prime to mn, and each row contain phi of n elements relatively prime to mn. So the array contain phi of m into phi of n positive integers less than or equal to mn, and also which are relatively prime to mn. So therefore the Euler's phi function phi of mn, which is equal to phi of m into phi of n. So this implies this equation represents phi is a multiplicative function. Okay. So we proved the Euler's phi function is multiplicative. So after finishing the class, you have to go through this theorem. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. For the next definition, the tau and the sigma functions. Okay, the tau and sigma function. First, we'll see the definition of tau function. Let n be a positive integer. Let n be a positive integer. Then tau of n denotes. the number of the divisors of n. Okay, tau of n denotes the number of divisors of n. Okay, so which can be calculated by using this equation. So tau of n is equal to summation d divides n 1. Tau of n is equal to summation d divides n 1. So d is the divisors of n. Then sigma function. Let n be a positive integer, then sigma of n denotes the divisors of n, the sum of the divisors of n. So sigma of n is the summation d divides n d. Okay. So simply tau of n means the number of devices of n. Okay, so how many devices are dividing the given n? Okay, that number of devices can be represented tau of n. Okay, then the summation of the devices of n, that is given by sigma of n. Okay, so next theorem is we are going to prove that tau and sigma functions are multiplicative. We are going to prove the tau and sigma functions are multiplicative. So we have the results. Tau of n means summation d divides n 1. Okay. Sigma of n means summation d divides n d. Okay. So it should be proved multiplicative function first. First, assume g of n is equal to n is multiplicative. Assume the function g of n is equal to n is multiplicative. Then f of n. So initially, I have given the f of n. The beginning of the class, I have given capital F of n. Okay. So capital F of n is summation d divides n f of d. Okay, capital F of n is equal to summation d divides n f of d. So this theorem is applied for proving tau and sigma functions are multiplicative. So f of n is equal to summation d divides n. Okay. In the definition, f of n equals summation d divides n f of d. But here the function is g of n. Therefore, I am taking summation d divides n g of d. That equal to summation d divides n. G of d is equal to, actually the function is g of n is equal to n. Therefore, g of d is equal to d. So summation d divides n. So summation d divides n, d is sigma of n. Okay, sigma of n means the sum of the devices of n. The sum of devices of n, which is definition of sigma function. Okay, so it should be proved multiplicative. For proving the multiplicative, we can assume the two integers m and n. Okay, the GCD between m and n is 1. Okay, if the GCD between m and n is 1, then tau of mn can be expressed as tau of m into tau of n. Then sigma of mn is equal to sigma of m into sigma of n, since the only reason is the relative m and n are relatively prime. M and n are relatively prime. Since the previous theorem I have proved, if m and n are relatively prime, then phi of mn can be expressed as phi of m into phi of n. So here the tau and the sigma function, okay, both functions are multiplicative functions. For the continuation of Euler's phi function and tau and sigma function.
Sir, Jaykumar.
Oh, sir.
Time aichu, sir.
Okay, students. So we will see in the third session. Thank you.